In this tutorial, I'll show you how to use assets from nice pictures with your MetaHumans. We'll start off with a blank project. I'll also have another one open on the side. We're going to use it a bit later. Within there are nice pictures assets available for purchase on various marketplaces. So first things first, we have to bring in our MetaHuman into the scene. As you can see, the project is completely blank. Now let's head over to Quixel, where we store a collection of our MetaHumans. Navigate to the MetaHumans tab, and I'll select one of my presets in the folder My MetaHumans. I need to highlight here that before modifying a character, their clothing has to be removed in MetaHuman Creator. I'll walk you through this process now. Let's launch the creator. For the purpose of this video, I'll choose a male character. Once he's up, we'll proceed to editing. I want to emphasize again that where possible, your MetaHuman has to be completely undressed. No pants, no t-shirts, shorts. And at this point, he'll only have flip-flops on. The reason we're taking off all clothing is that MetaHuman Creator will simply remove parts of our character's geometry that's underneath these physics assets. And we want to preserve that for when we might need to expose his bare torso or other body parts. That's why I recommend that you remove all clothing. Let's switch back to Unreal Engine. Here in the bottom right hand corner, I'll select High Optimized option and hit Add. Now that our MetaHuman is in the scene, we can open his blueprint. And right away we're prompted to enable a number of plugins required for better functionality. We hit Enable Missing, and then again, we're prompted to restart the Unreal Engine for new settings to be applied. We go ahead and do it. It reopens, and we're all set to continue. I'll also go to Editor Preferences, find Asset Editor Open Location, and select Main Window in the drop-down list. This will ensure that when you activate assets, they're going to appear in the main window instead of being scattered in different locations. Now we're heading over to Viewport. The first thing I always do is remove flip-flops. Since we couldn't get rid of them earlier, we have to do it now. We go to the Details tab, navigate to the Skeletal Mesh Assets, and click on Clear. Then we hit Compile, and of course, Save. And now he's barefoot. Next, we import our MetaHuman to our scene and make him face us. It's time to transfer the assets from the other projects opened earlier. I'll split the scene in two to speed up the process. We'll now browse the items to import. So in the content browser, we go into the folder Military, then folder Mesh, and punch in Type Skeletal Mesh in this search bar. We get a list of all physical assets. You'll notice that asset names are pretty long and contain details that help us identify a specific MetaHuman type the assets are compatible with. There's quite a few assets like gloves, jackets, you name it. The total number of MetaHuman types is 18, so the number of assets will run up to 64, plus extra assets used for Unreal Engine mannequins. Since the current MetaHuman is categorized as man, normal weight, we head over to the search field again and type in man_med_nrw, which stands for normal weight. As a result, we're going to filter out assets that match our criteria. You'll notice besides assets for male characters, we also get those for female characters. To narrow down our search, we type in -woman, and finally we get only those that are compatible with our MetaHuman. Let's select all of them and hit Migrate. In the Asset Report window, I strongly recommend you go over the items to be exported. In this case, skeletal meshes. Check, materials check. Along with materials, we have physical assets, textures. Once you've done that, hit OK. Next, you'll need to set the destination for the export. Navigate to the folder MetaHuman Clothing and always select the content folder for this, then hit Select. Now, when the export completed, let's check that the folders have migrated. We open the content drawer and we see that the folder military_1 contains outfits, materials, textures, and meshes that we need. This means that we can set the source project aside. And now, in order to suit up our character, we'll have to follow a few steps. For starters, we can modify our MetaHuman right in the scene, instead of his blueprint. To do that, we need to expand the character's toggle hierarchy. And we'll see some skeletal meshes like face, torso, legs, feet. Let's grab something that would fit his torso. Let's say this jacket. The jacket is on and it's a perfect fit. Looks really nice from all angles. Okay, next step. We hover over to legs and pick something from there. Let's grab these pants. Another perfect fits. With a slight overlap though, we'll get into the details of how to remove it in another video. This time we're focusing on more general stuff. The next step is to put some shoes on. The boots are on, the outfit is complete. We need to make sure that everything works fine. And we're going to animate the character. Unfortunately, the Unreal Engine project doesn't include animations. We're gonna have to add them ourselves. There are several ways to do that. We're going to use animations from this project. Heading over to the folder Demo, then Many, and choose a few animations. For example, idle, fall loop, run, and walk. And export them through right-click, Asset Action, Migrate. In the Asset Report window, we uncheck those items that we don't need, leaving only the animations and meshes that go along with them. We'll uncheck HDRI, rigs, we don't need materials, as well as textures and outfits. Essentially, we're leaving SKM UE5 man and ASCII UE5 skeleton. We also uncheck the woman box. Basically, we're keeping all male animations with their corresponding skeletal meshes. Then press OK. And select the folder content. Switching back to our scene to check the exported items. Go to Animations, Many, and here they are. To make sure the animations are aligned with our skeleton, let's load Run. Here's an animated character who's stripped of textures and materials because we haven't applied them yet to save up memory and time. There's a couple of ways to transfer animations onto the character. I suggest we do it this way. we'll pick SKEU5 skeleton, then go to asset details and hit this plus button to add a compatible skeleton. To make sure to save it. And now our MetaHuman skeleton can be animated. We'll hover over to animation toggle, pick use animation asset, select walk and hit play to animate the character. The animation is rendered very well, despite some structural differences between the MetaHuman and the Epic skeleton, namely there's a greater number of bones in MetaHumans than in the animated skeletons. Nevertheless, the animation merges with the character seamlessly. A side note here, if you're going to do animation retargeting, keep in mind that you might run into certain difficulties with it. That's why we're following the easiest path right now. Again, I can switch to another animation, for example run, and the character is now running. We can see that everything works fine. Sometimes though you can spot a bug when zooming out, like something we see right now. These distortions are caused by automatic LOD. In order to deactivate it, navigate to LOD sync and set forced LOD to 0. And now the character is running with no distortions when you're either zooming in or zooming out the scene. Keep in mind though that this solution may reflect negatively on your game performance as it going to deactivate the LOD system, which saves memory usage. So far we've been modifying only one instance of our MetaHuman. So if I drag another one to the scene, just like this one is going to be naked and we'll have to repeat all the steps we've taken so far to outfit and animate the first instance. So if we need all of our MetaHumans instances to be outfitted, we can load his blueprint and apply all the necessary changes here. I'll show how to do it. And this is perhaps the best way to suit up your MetaHuman. First off, we're going to open the components list. The body components are those we're focusing on now. The three main components are feet, legs, and torso. Let's grab these boots for his feet. Then pants. And I need to mention that at times it's more convenient to search for these items in the content browser, pull it up and browse to the required meshes. Since we're outfitting the torso now, we'll pick this jacket. Now all of our MetaHuman instances are wearing our assets. You may have noticed though that there are way more assets than our characters have on. That's why we're going to add more skeletal components. So now we're choosing the remaining assets and just dragging them into the body toggle. In the component panel, we add them. The assets are added and we have to make sure that they are placed into the body toggle and not any other location. With assets still highlighted, we head over to the transform section and set location and rotation values to 0 and scale to 1. We go ahead and test the animation now. Unfortunately, we're not going to see proper asset alignment. Let's try walking to demonstrate this. You can see that not all of the assets are fixed to the bodies, they are sort of floating in the air. To fix this issue, we're heading over to the construction script, where we'll find components node graph. And specifically for MetaHuman body parts, there's the enable master pose function. We'll give it a closer look now. It's pretty straightforward. To put it in simple terms, in those cases when skeletal mesh assets have animated blueprints that add physical motion simulation or similar functions, setLeaderPose component is not applied. But when it's the other way around, that is when we have a simple linear asset, the setLeaderPose component is activated. What this does is link the main components, which in our case is body, to the target component. Understanding this logic, we'll be creating this node now. We'll drag and drop a body component, then add setLeaderPose components. None of our components here have any built-in animation assets. We can verify this by just looking at our meshes. As you can see, there's no animation blueprints on the list. There are skeletal mesh assets only. We can link them to the setLeaderPose components. So let's go ahead and select them and drop them here. Then I'll go to Alignment and pick Distribute Vertically to arrange them in a neat list. Then I'll link them to Target in the setLeaderPose component box. Now, if we analyze the animation, we'll see that everything is working smoothly. Additionally, we can even switch to another move exported earlier, like Fall, for example. This will show that we've covered skinning across the entire body, including the groin area. In order to understand what goes into this node, I'll demonstrate what an asset with a skeletal rig looks like on the example of this backpack. We want to add an animation blueprint to it. So I'm creating animation blueprint, then create copy pose from mesh node, and then link it to output pose. It won't execute anything at this moment. We're doing this to show how nodes function. In the details window, I usually tick these two boxes to ensure everything runs smoothly. And now I'll head over to Post-Process Animation Blueprints and select the backpack and save it. At this point, the asset isn't controlled by setLeaderPose component. What this means is if I move it from this list and break this link, hit compile, save it, it'll still work because now it has its own logic. Its behavior is dictated by this node. But if I browse back and clear the asset, it's no longer attached to our character. So at this point, we have two options to fix this. We either plug it back to target or use enable master pose component for this particular asset.